Hi, Sergey. It's so wonderful to have you with us this afternoon. And for those of us who are joining us for the stream, Sergey Antonov was our guest artist for this season. He's the gold medalist of the 2007 Tchaikovsky International Competition, an amazing cellist, very remarkable musician who plays chamber music, has a very active solo international career, and just a wonderful human being. It's just such a pleasure and privilege to get to work on you in this program, focusing around Rachmaninoff's cello sonata and, of course, many other smaller selections of works. So welcome, Sergey. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about the program as our conversation continues. But you have so many unusual hobbies, right? For a classical musician. So I wanted to kind of dig into that a little bit. One of the photos that our viewers will get to see is you riding on a bike with your son, and I'd love for you to say a few words about that hobby of yours.
Right. Well, that's actually in the order of the hobbies. That would be the latest one that kind of picked up during the pandemic, and we were kind of forced to come up with some activities around the house, around town, and socially distance and all this stuff. So we had Noah. Noah's my son. We had Noah's bike. We had my bike. And that was something that I really wanted to do for a long time, just never got a chance. So if there is a positive side, I know there isn't, but if there is a positive side to the pandemic, that what forced me to, kind of get in the bike and go on the trails in the woods. And he's not always really eager to do that, but it's a lot of work, but we manage. Yeah. Oh, and actually that photo, that was a macho race that was happening on Long Island that got postponed because of COVID, obviously. And Noah got challenged by a couple of our friends to complete it. And actually he did, which surprised me a lot. So he was working really hard, and I'm kind of proud of him.
Well, it's wonderful. So I see in another photo that our viewers will get to see. You are doing some diving, right, in very serious gear. Is this something that
Uh,
you do frequently?
I try to. The scuba diving around Long Island is not very great, but yeah, that was something that I picked up about 11 years ago. And I was always interested in nature and the ocean. Yeah, scuba diving was on the list. Finally, I got a chance. We were with the family on vacation, and there was a dive shop right next to the hotel. So I just stopped by, and the guys were really nice. I ended up diving with them all the time for 11 years now. So,
Wow, that's quite something to be doing it for 11 years.
yeah.
Do you feel like because you know how so many classical musicians, right, are always careful with their bodies, with their hands, with certain activities, like for example, like especially the photos I'm looking now, the way you are skiing, that seems like very exciting but somewhat right dangerous, right? How do you feel
Well,
about?
the story with skiing actually go way back to my childhood because when I started playing cello and my mom was teaching me for a while, I was I was hyperactive kid. So that presented a problem for my mom that I needed to get the energy out somehow. And it was actually by accident when the family friend was getting kind of old, and he had a set of old downhill skis, those straight one, 2 meters long because he was a big guy, and he was like, if you want, I can just give it to you. And here I was, an 11-year-old with the huge long skis, not knowing what I was doing. At that year, my dad passed away, so and back in Russia, skiing was kind of, let's put it this way, it was hard to find the instructor or the school, so I was picking it up myself and got really into it. in fact, skiing later in my life led to climbing, which they're both connected. But then, yeah, I'm trying to be careful. I'm never treated, I'm trying not to take unnecessary risks and stuff like that. But that brings us to the subject of my viewing of the art and what we do. If it's not meant to be, if it's not, I'm not talking about some spiritual thing. It's just there's one life, but many things that we can enjoy. And if something happens and it's not the end of the world, I'm just gonna keep doing what I am able to. So I was always careful, and a lot of people are telling me, be careful, don't hurt yourself. Of course, I'm not looking to, just like when musicians are discussing making a mistake on stage, nobody's looking to do that. It's a surprise for the artist as well. So whatever I'm doing, I'm trying to be careful, but so far so good. Let's put it this way.
That's really great. I actually wanted to know about where you were climbing in the next few photos. I mean, because the view is stunning and it looks so high up there.
That was my dream in the making for 14 years. I still have that's Mount Elbrus in Russia. That's the highest, one of the 7 summits, one of the highest mountain in Europe.
Wow.
To this day, I still have photos of me skiing in that region, just looking at Elbrus and saying, one day I will be able to climb it. And it took 14 years for me. And I actually climbed it twice. And if you look, there are 2 summits. I summited both of them the second time. So yeah, it was a long time dream for me.
So Sergey, obviously this has been a difficult year for all musicians, all touring artists, and which is one of the reasons, right, why we decided to do the digital season, and we recorded the recital together, which was just so much fun to play. How are things progressing now in terms of the live performances and things all gradually opening up?
Well, we are starting to move forward a little bit. It's like breaking a leg. It takes 1 second to break it. It takes a long time to start walking again. So, and just because we're so dependent on gatherings and indoors, it's a slow process. But things are picking up. Everybody's looking forward to next season, which hopefully going to be the beginning of the beginning. So yeah, but I'm finally teaching in person and a little bit of playing in person, not a lot so far. There's still a lot of hesitation, unfortunately, but understandably so.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you remember, for our viewers, what was supposed to have happened was in March of last year, we were supposed to have a concert where Sergei was supposed to play the Rococo variations of Tchaikovsky, which we were so excited about, and in fact, we even started the rehearsal process, and then everything got shut down. So we didn't get to fulfill that concert, but we are most definitely, as soon as concert halls fully open up and we are able to do that, we're most definitely excited to do that project again. But
Yeah,
it was a
but
special treat to get to record some chamber music together meanwhile. And
absolutely.
I have to mention it's a rare treat because when you play this kind of repertoire, Sergei is you're such an attentive and sensitive chamber musician that the Rachmaninoff cello sonata, Rachmaninoff himself being a pianist, obviously, there are moments, right, where he's completely favoring the piano almost, the way the line is progressing, it was just so incredible to have that free artistic freedom where you were so attentive and allowing the piano part to flow and float. So that was really special experience to have worked with
Thank you,
you on
thank you.
that sonata.
I'm always saying that we're in the same boat. We play in the same piece, and there's absolutely no
Exactly.
reason to play tag of war all over the same thing. And I'm not I'm not that kind of person who will say, oh, well, it's a sonata for cello and
Yes.
piano. So basically, like with all the with all the material you have in the piano part, what am I supposed to say? Like, shut up and let me play? It doesn't make any sense. You can
Yeah.
look at this from many perspectives. Yeah.
No, but it really is. It's interesting, right? When we look at the sort of history of chamber music, especially when we're looking back maybe 30, 40 years, even something as simple as the piano lead going from completely shut to gradually opening up to
Yeah.
a full stick. It's been an interesting journey, and some of that still carries over maybe to
Yeah,
today.
well, it
You know,
that subject goes to the pianist. If you guys as a pianist can control yourself, there's absolutely no reason to keep
exactly,
the lid shut. It's even
exactly.
though I've had stories in my life with a trio, with the chamber musicians, when you just end up with a monster piano on stage, like a
Yeah,
monster.
absolutely.
We had this problem once with Ilya, with our mutual friend and the pianist that I play with a lot.
Hmm.
And we came to the hall, and it was a huge Steinway, which was a beast, just a beast.
I see.
And we had to half the lid, half close
Yeah,
the lid.
yeah.
And Ilya is one of those people who never overpowers, but he just said, "Listen, you giving me a semi truck on a tiny kart racing court. I can't do anything about it." And we actually closed it up. And I think we were doing Rachmaninoff's second piano trio, which is huge.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite pieces too.
And at some point, it brought some questions from the presenters, and they said, "Well, nobody was doing this for like 40 years." And we're like, "Well, unless you want a piano solo recital, and we can just sit down, that's what we got to do."
Yeah, yeah, and also
But of
some
course,
concert halls favor, right? The certain instruments sometimes depending on how
yeah,
it's set up.
yeah, yeah, of course, yeah,
Yeah. No, but really, in the truest sense, it was just such a thrill, to play that program, and I can't wait. It premieres on Thursday, so I
it's
hope our
awesome.
listeners, for those of them who are joining us mid conversation, I hope that they make an effort to join and hear the premiere with us.
Hope
Can
so,
you say a
absolutely.
few words about? So, of course, the Rachmaninoff was the centerpiece of the program, and we did the vocalies. And how was it for you to learn, upon my request, which I was so touched, the Armenian piece, the impromptu by the Arutunian, which is one of the very few actually gems in that repertoire from the Armenian world.
Right. Um, I'm always open to new pieces. I'm always looking for the new repertoire, the new cello repertoire. We have a very limited, comparing to keyboards and pianos and stuff, orchestras. We have a very, even violins. We have a very limited repertoire, and whenever whenever the piece that I don't know, I haven't played, comes my way, it's always a pleasure for me to learn it. Um, in fact, I always encourage. Unfortunately, there's still some resistance from general public as presenters and orchestras and concert halls and concert series to explore new things. We kind of in a situation when people know, doesn't matter what number it is, of 20 composers, and tend to stick with it. And when they hear the unfamiliar name or a rarely performed piece, they kind of try to stay away from this, keeping in mind that the audience don't know the name, so they won't buy tickets to hear the concert. But everybody needs to realize that we bear responsibility as artists. If we put the piece on the program, at least in a personal opinion, we think it's good. So we think it worth be
Absolutely.
heard. But as a performer, yeah, I'm always enjoying learning and expanding my repertoire. So it was a pleasure to learn it and perform it.
Oh, thank you for learning it. It was great fun to play it with you. We also did the Piazzolla's Oblivion, which is a beautiful piece. But I like, if you could say a few words about the Davidoff.
He was actually a great cellist at the turn of the 20th century, and a lot of people have considered him to be a founder of Russian cello tradition. Uh, Very, very actively playing and performing cellist, very actively writing tons of short pieces, tons. Couple concertos. Unfortunately, his compositions were kind of damaged by students and people under the certain level, because they're very technically difficult, and some technical pieces, some lyrical pieces are very, not the point. The point is that he is very much involved in the educational process, and um, as a result, it damages a lot of his compositional reputation, unfortunately. But the pieces are great, and he has lots of them. And he has, I think, as far as I remember, 4 concertos for cello and orchestra, which are
Actually, I was not
beautiful
aware of them.
music. Well, not a lot of people know them, and those who know say, "Oh my God, you know, we've heard it, students play it so much," because they're technically difficult, and it's a great repertoire for students to improve. But that's the downside when you're dealing with this. The Fountain is just one of the many pieces. I think this particular piece is off of the set of 5, I think. And he was actually, as far as I know, as far as my knowledge goes, he was one of the first cellists ever. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to say the first because I'm not sure, to put together the full recital of miniature pieces. Another wonderful thing, very famous Russian family who used to own, they were friends with Davidov. They gave him Stradivarius that he used to play on all his life. Interesting life of the instrument, because after Davidov, we now have a Davidov Strad. Right? So it went to Jacqueline Dupre, and now it's not far away from here. Yo-Yo Ma owns it. So
Wow.
Davidov Stradivarius.
Well, quite a journey in the cello head. Sometimes I wish these instruments, right, could speak to us.
Yeah.
To share their journey with each musician. You know, it's quite extraordinary. I want to drift away a little bit from music talk and just ask you about one of your, I would say maybe main hobbies, right? Because I see, you posting on social media all these amazing culinary creations, as our viewers can see in one of the photos. Is this sort of a passion of yours? Is this more of a hobby? What is it to you?
It's a little bit of everything, the passion and the hobby and circumstantial things, because it started years ago when I met my wife, and we were living back in Boston with her family, and it just quickly became a tradition that it was me, my wife, and her father who were actively cooking all the time. So it became a tradition that we go to the grocery store every single night, and each of us is responsible for the dish. It can be an appetizer, it can be a main course, and whatever. And then we just sit down and have a dinner all together. And just kept going, And then after that, a couple of years after that, my wife went to medical school. So she became crazy busy. And I kind of, that's why I'm saying circumstantial, because, I kind of had to do it. I had to feed the family with pleasure. I never treated it as something that I have to do. But it's I don't know. In cooking, there's a little bit of everything. There's aesthetics, there's the flavors and the process. You asked me for the picture of me cooking, but I don't have any at all, you know, because it's always me just doing whatever I enjoy, and it's a very nice sort of a wrap up for the day, you know, to be able to cook first and then sit down and have dinner together.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it looks amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, it really does. So again, I wanted to ask you a few words. I'm sure so many people would be really curious to know. Um, I mean, this is so many years ago, of course, but I'm sure it's still fresh in your head. You know what it's like to go through such a major competition like the Tchaikovsky International Competition, um, and to not only win it, but also uh, be able to get through that process, right? Which is in itself is so demanding. With so many rounds and so much pressure, on everyone participating.
Um, it was tough. It was very tough, including the fact that it was my second Tchaikovsky competition. I didn't pass to the final round in the first try, but I was way too young. I was only 17. Um, it's something that needs to be done nowadays. You know, my proud moment to myself during that competition that I stayed as far, at least I think that I stayed true to myself, because there's a difference to present yourself during the competition as an artist and to present yourself to win the competition.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
it's a, you know, many hours long conversation topic, but there are people who do the second part much better. You know, you do your
Sure.
research, you see who is in the jury, what do they like, and you sort of cater the win for yourself. Um, I really hope to think that I didn't do that, and it didn't go without fight, but
I think you couldn't do that even because it's just not part of your
I
personality.
hope so. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I mean, it caused me a lot of problems during conservatory years, you know, and a lot of arguments with my professor, who wanted to do exactly what she wanted to do, and I would
I
just
see.
refuse. Um, but it's a big milestone. It's a huge milestone in life. It was a long time ago. A lot have happened after that, and it's something that you are, if you are strong enough, and I know a lot of people who are not, including myself. The entire beginning of my career, I hated competitions. I just hated. I couldn't. But this is something that we had to do.
Mhm.
So for me, it was that obstacle. You know, you can bring the parallel to the mountains. You know, there was the mountain that I had to climb. I climbed it. I forgot about it and moved on. You know, it was done. It's, again, if you talk about, you know, seven summit club, and it's all seven summits, highest summits on the continents, you can't do six. If you want to do seven, you know, you have to do that one last one, whether you
Yes.
like it or not.
Yes.
So
Sure.
it was a long blurry period in my life, which I'm glad ended as it ended, and I'm glad that it ended.
No, well, it ended well. It ended very well. And I wanted to ask you if you have any advice for, especially it's a very difficult time for young musicians, right, or young artists. Yeah, if you have any advice for them, especially the ones who are preparing for competitions and starting their journey, towards or their early careers, so to speak.
Well, in the present time, just be patient. You know, don't give up on whatever is happening to the world. It's crazy, but it's gonna end. In moving forward, as I said, the most important in to me, the most important thing in the art of music or any other art is being true to yourself and purity. So, and that's the most difficult thing, you know, to develop yourself as an artist, as a musician, as a painter, as a dancer, as a singer. That's the most difficult thing, because business is putting pressure on us, and the pressure is huge. You know, we have to look the certain way, we have to play the certain way, our websites have to look a certain way, the social media needs to be up. You have to have, there's so many, you have to have a manager, you have to have a specific pieces that you play. Otherwise, you're not going to get invited. So it's so confusing and so difficult to stay who you are. That's why we, and I'm not judging other people. It's up to them. That's why we see so many classical musicians going left and right away from classical music because it's not popular. It's very competitive. Um, it's not a lot of money. Let's be honest. In it, you know, the job of playing, you put whatever you want in there, pays a lot more. You know, social media is helping with that. You can become popular without even leaving your house. You know, it's just one viral video is enough.
Yeah.
But for me, I always think, listen, all of this is going to pass, including my life. What am I leaving after myself? What is going to, I will leave to a certain point, hopefully a long time, but then something needs to, I don't want to call it legacy, you know, it's too big of the word, but I'm always thinking what's going to be left. It can be a great live performance. It could be a recording. It could be whatever it is, a music collection or, you know, score collection or whatever. But if you're trying to catch the train that is leaving, only so many people can catch it. But there's going to be another one. So,
Oh, that's beautifully said, Sergey.
If you're not catching the train, think about maybe you don't belong on the train. You know, maybe you're not supposed to be an Instagram superstar. You know, maybe maybe the Carnegie Hall is just patiently waiting for you while you're wasting your time trying to do something that is not you. If it is you, no judgment.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think it's interesting, but for people who, you know, watched the entire interview and our conversation and got to see the photos, I think just, you know, just from the photos itself, you know, it's already showing that you are living your life to the fullest. And I think that's another advice you are already indirectly giving to all of them, is to get out more, to explore more, right? Probably.
Oh, absolutely.
Enjoy life to the fullest, not just be stuck in the practice room. And of course we have to spend hours honing our craft, but that's not all there is to it.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially when it's your job.
Definitely.
And let's be honest, it is our job.
Yeah.
You
Definitely.
know, we're not sitting down behind the instrument for 15 minutes. You know, you have to look around. You have to see all the beautiful things and actually be inspired by them. If you are in the practice room for 23 hours a day, my only question is, what are you playing about? You're not leaving the room. You don't know anything. You know, some people, and it's different for everybody. Some people read, some people go to museum to see paintings. My inspiration is nature, always nature. And it can be different for anybody. But if you're stuck with the keyboard or the strings in the practice room, what story are you telling? So
exactly so. You know, before we finish our chat, I thought I would mention something that might be of interest to our viewers. You know, I don't know if you thought about this, but it was interesting that as we were rehearsing for our program, especially during Rachmaninoff, if you notice, that's when I spoke Russian the most. and that's not because, you know, I mean, I think English comes more effortlessly to me after living so many years in the US, but and it's not like we are reading Dostoevsky and it has to be in Russian to get the meaning, but somehow Rachmaninoff's music, right, it kind of makes you want to communicate in his mother language. So that was an interesting thing.
It is. That's why we're saying, you know, music speaks to you.
Yeah.
It brings, and it means that I don't want to say it mean if you're not speaking Russian playing Rachmaninoff, you don't understand the music. That's not what I'm saying. But it inspires you. You know, you start talking the same language to the music or about the music.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, the Rachmaninoff itself is a subject we could probably spend hours on, but it's such a delight and pleasure to have you, Sergey. Thank you so much. Огромное спасибо.
Спасибо.
And for our viewers, yeah, really hope you can join us for the premiere on Thursday at 8 p.m. And the link is below. And the beauty of the season is actually, even if you missed the premiere, you can still watch it for 2 weeks. And our subscribers, the full season subscribers, can actually watch it till the end of the year and have unlimited access to it. So thank you so much, Sergey, for your artistry. And yeah, and for so wonderful to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.